a little late than I expected. I had some car difficulties, but it's okay. We are here, and we are talking about Thor. So if you're new here, I'm Kaylee, and I am a newfound Marvel fan, and an especially newfound Thor fan, because I kind of like, honestly, Thor was like my favorite when I first watched Avengers, which was like my first Marvel movie. I watched it when it first came out, and I just liked Thor because he was hot. And that was it. I was like, oh, he's hot, so he'll be my favorite Avenger. And then I tried watching the first movie like way back, and I was like, this is so boring. I hated it. And I was like, I just didn't like it. And I have gone on this journey with Thor again, where I'm like starting from the beginning. And I texted Ali after I watched the first movie, and I'm like, what was I thinking when I thought this movie was boring? Like, I loved the first movie, and I loved all of them so far. So
I told you had to go watch them. I mean, because they were awesome. So
yeah, they really were. And I mean, I've heard mixed things about them, because there's some people who don't love them, and it's not their favorite thing. But for me, I really ended up liking them. And Allie, the reason Allie's on with me to talk with me about it is because Allie is such a big Thor fan. So really quickly, Allie, how did you get into Thor specifically? I know you just every time we bring up Thor.
It's so funny because, okay, obviously the very first thing that started this entire Marvel universe, as far as in the cinemas, was the first Iron Man movie. Mm-hmm. And I don't even think I saw the Iron Man movie when it first came out. I saw it like a while later. But so I'm not a Marvel Comics fan. I know there are some people that are really, really into the comics, know the comics. I'm just a movie buff. I've always been a movie buff my whole life. And so I didn't see the Thor movies when they were at the movies. I'm like, I wait for them to come out, and I can rent them or whatever. So I honestly can't remember when I first saw it. It was not too long, probably the same year it came out, but oh my gosh. Okay. I want to say that I think it was the first movie I ever saw. No, it wasn't the first movie with Chris Hemsworth. I think that's why I liked it. I had seen him in a couple other movies prior, but yeah, I mean, I love his accent, his voice, his body. I mean, yeah, it just goes on from there. And so when there was a second and third one, I was like, heck yeah. And the Avengers movie, oh my gosh. Yeah. So I've just been into them ever since they all came out.
Yeah. I thought that Thor and Loki were interesting in Avengers. Like I said, that was my first movie I watched, and I immediately went to Thor because, obviously he's, in my opinion, the most attractive one. That could be debated, but I tried watching it, and I don't know if it's because, which Christina isn't on, I don't think yet, but Read Pray Disney, my friend Christina, she's not the biggest Natalie Portman fan either. And I don't dislike Natalie Portman, but I definitely feel like I remember her when I tried watching the first Thor, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know. But that was another thing that shocked me. I really enjoyed Thor and Jane in the first two. She wasn't in Ragnarok at all. No. And so what did they ever like really clarify? I know in Ragnarok at the beginning, they were like, they had broken up, but like, what did they ever clarify? Like what happened with all that?
Yeah, it was, well, not a lot, but first of all, I have to say I am a sucker for a good love story. I love love stories. So I definitely liked their attraction and relationship, but, I don't remember I'm trying to think. I think it was the Avengers movie before Endgame. So I can't think what it was, but it was
Infinity War before Endgame?
Was it Infinity War or was it Endgame? I can't remember the which two, but there's a scene where Loki and Thor go after Doctor Strange. They go to Doctor Strange's place, and out front, there's these girls walk up to him. They're like, "Oh, can we take a picture with you, Thor?" Oh, and someone, hi,
hey, Princess Leia.
And someone says, "Hey, what happened to Jane?" And he goes, "We broke up." Okay, so like that's like all as far as I know that was ever said. It was just
that was in Ragnarok, I think, because
was it? No, it was in Doctor Strange. I thought it was when they were with Doctor Strange. I'm not sure, but
I'm pretty sure it is. I've been on a binge though, so I mean, but I will say I just saw that scene. I did just see the scene, and I just watched Ragnarok, so I think it was
okay.
Ragnarok.
So it's got to be in Ragnarok then. It has to be.
Yeah.
I thought it was the Avengers movie, but
Yeah.
yes, he basically was like, "We broke up, okay?" Because at the end of Thor: Dark World, he goes back and is on Earth with Jane. Like that's it. So
yeah.
I
tell
wondered.
you, I got a little bitter, and thank you, Princess Tessa, for saying you love my ears. I do too. Well, I don't know. Mine, Allie, you can say who yours are by. Mine are by Kylie from Crazy Kylie 14. I got them in one of her giveaways. And Allie, where did you get your ears from?
I bought mine at like a Disney convention one time, and these are actually just like what do you call it, fireworks? But I thought they kind of looked Marvel-ish a little bit, so I was like, I'll go with it.
Yeah. Oh, but I was going to say about that end scene is Disney Plus tried to jip me on that end scene because they skipped me. They put it tiny and they wanted to skip me to Ragnarok. And I was like, excuse me. I know there's an end scene.
Because that was a fabulous end scene, by the way, because they have a nice long kiss and it's like, woo, yeah.
Yeah, I really, which I wanted to say this too, and this is kind of a little bit of a side note, but it goes with it, is Darcy. So when I remember, this is also funny about when I watched it the first time, I remember I didn't really care for Darcy, I don't think at the time, when I like tried to watch it, and then like coming back, I was kind of worried because I really loved Darcy in WandaVision, and like that was the first time I honestly remembered her character, like really remembered her character, other than like just thinking she was a little annoying when I tried to watch it. And so I was worried I was going to like not like her character in Thor, but it really, like I really did. I still liked her character except for that one scene in like Dark World where she like interrupted Thor and Jane right before they were about to kiss. And I was like, Darcy, why?
Jane's like, we're in the middle of something here.
And Darcy's like, we're about to get arrested. So, I mean, you know, but still, I was like, Darcy, let them kiss first and then you can tell them they're getting arrested.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so out of the three movies, I know which one is your favorite, but go ahead and say which one is your favorite.
Well, see,
and why?
It's a tough one to say. Like, I love them all, but I think that the third one, Ragnarok, had, I don't know what it was. There was much more comedic elements to it. There were a lot more comedy lines and bantering back and forth than I think there were in the other two. So if I had to rank them really, I think I would say 1, 3, and then 2 as far as a ranking. But I do love all of them. So yeah.
So you'd put 1 before 3.
Yeah, because 1's the original.
Really? Okay.
It's got the full story. It's got Thor's backstory. It's how he evolved. You have to put 1 as you have to, because that's when you first see him. So
yeah. That shocked me. I really thought you were going to say Ragnarok 100%. I don't know. I think for me personally, and Ragnarok for me was a tiny bit like rushed. I feel like Ragnarok had so much. I feel like I need to rewatch Ragnarok, to be honest. It was more in depth, I think, than New World or Dark World and the OG Thor for me. Thank you so much, Tessa, for jumping on for a minute. Yes, I appreciate you showing some support. I hope you're having a good day or a fabulous day.
Thank you.
I think honestly, because you know me, I'm like the queen of unpopular opinions. Like my favorite Avenger movie is usually like the least picked, which is Age of Ultron is my favorite. So my favorite Thor is actually probably Dark World. I really liked Dark World. And I liked it because mostly of the Thor and Loki, I feel like we did get in that one, which I liked it in all. I liked the Thor and Loki content we got in all 3 movies, and I thought it was all amazing. But I really loved, which by the way, spoilers, if anyone hadn't seen these movies, I feel like it's always self-explanatory, but like I really loved like after his mother died, Loki's like whole like demeanor and everything, and like that my favorite scene probably, or one of my favorite scenes for sure, in the entire like series is when like Thor comes to talk to Loki, and Loki's like at the glass, and he's like, you know, asking him, like, I can't remember what he said. He's like, why are you coming here?
He's like, oh, come to gloat.
Yeah, like come to gloat and all this stuff. And then he's like, enough, Loki. And then the illusion goes away, and Loki has destroyed the room, and he's over there, and he just looks like he looks torn. He's
a hot mess. He's got a hot mess,
and he looks like a broken boy. And I love that. And I thought that was so, which I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I knew as soon as like they had that little fight, which I didn't even know for a hot second that she was really there. Like, you know, when she comes in the little cell with him, with Loki, the mother, and she was talking to him. And then, you know, he goes to take her hands and she like disappears. And so I thought, I'm like, is this in his head? Cause you know, he makes illusions. I didn't realize that the mother also did too. So, which a side question, how was that? Cause I know Thor said, it was also in Dark World, but Thor said like, you might have mother's tricks or whatever. How was it that he had her tricks?
I think the magic came from her because Thor mentioned something about science and magic are different and tell you, but in our world they're together, they're the same or something like that. I think Loki learned the magic stuff from the mother. I mean,
so it wasn't like, obviously it wasn't inherited, right? Because like Loki and his mother weren't really like biologically, they weren't mother and son. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. That's why I was confused, I guess. But then obviously we had that whole switcheroo situation, and you know.
The funny thing is, two things I got to remember to say on this. One was I was really shocked to see Captain America make a little guest appearance. He was doing his illusions, and he plays, oh, let me give you someone that you probably want to see or talk to, a friend of yours. And he does Captain America. I thought that was great. But I forgot the other point I was going to make. Things come in my head too quickly. But it was something else about the Dark World, but maybe I'll think of it later.
Well, while you're talking about Captain America and that Captain America scene, I was also flailing to my friend April from Thrifty Nerdy Mom as I was watching these, because April is like a really big Marvel fan in general, but she loves Loki. I love Loki. And I love Loki too. Like, I appreciated Loki always, but I mean, the love I have for Loki after watching this series is so high. So anyways, I was like freaking out to her about things, and she told me a fun fact about that Captain America scene. She actually said that when they originally shot it, they had Loki in the Captain America suit, and then they sent it the footage. And he came and like actually filmed it. Like the Captain America actually came and filmed. I'm forgetting his name.
Chris Evans.
Right? There you go. I was like, what's his name in real life? Chris Evans like saw the footage, like they sent it to him, and he like came and actually filmed the scene.
And he had like a good 30, 45 seconds to a minute of a line. So I mean,
yeah, I still kind of want to see like Loki in the suit. I want to see like the outtake of Loki in the suit, because I feel like that would be hilarious. So funny. Okay, so really quickly, because I really wanted to spend kind of a big portion of our time talking about like the progression with Loki's character, and also the progression with Thor's character and their relationship, because to me that's like the biggest, that's what draws me in the most, I think, about the whole plot, is their brotherhood, and them as individual characters also are very interesting. So 2 things I wanted to talk about real quick. First one being your thoughts on like Jane and Thor, and how they stand up for you as a Marvel couple. For me, I like them, even though I'm not like the biggest, I don't really love Natalie Portman a whole lot. I don't hate her. I'm not, Christina hates her. Can't even watch her on the screen. But I liked them. I felt like their relationship was so cheesy though in the first one. Like they were like both like little school kids, like falling in love. It was like so funny to me. It was so cheesy. And like goofy. Like she was like really like stumbling over herself a little bit about him. And I guess because, obviously it's like a Peggy and Steve thing when Steve first turns into like Captain America. He's like all hot all of a sudden. And Peggy's like,
and she's like, do you always look like that? That's a good look. when he comes out. Yeah, but see, I think you have to think about it. Like, she's a hardcore, what was I don't know, some scientist. I forget what she was, but she was very much into her work. In the second one, they have her start to kind of date this guy. Remember the guy in London that she has lunch with or whatever? So she's probably doesn't really have a social life. And so this might have even been like really her first love experience. And I think it kind of was for Thor in a way too. Like, he obviously hadn't been in love with anybody in his kingdom because he was kind of over her big time. So it was sweet. I liked it. I thought it was really cute.
I liked it better than I thought I would. Side note about the guy that she tried to date. I love that scene in Dark World where they're in the cave and her phone rings and she's like keeping him on the line.
He's like, whatever you do, don't hang up.
He's like, okay. And then like her and Thor get in the car and Thor was like, who's he? And she's like,
who's so-and-so? I can't even think of his name. Jerry? Was it Jerry? So who's Jerry? She's like,
I don't know. I'm going to say David. Really? I don't think it was David though, but that's what.
Like, really? You're going to ask me that right now?
Hold. One other side note, but it was in the first Thor movie. The guy, I cannot remember his name, but he's like the blonde-haired friend of Thor. The blonde-haired.
Kind of looks like Carrie Elway a little.
Have you? No, he what? He was skinnier.
Or the other guy.
Yeah. Have you seen Once Upon a Time?
No, not since.
Okay, well then he played Prince Charming in Once Upon a Time. I about freaked out when I saw him on there. I was like, oh my God, it's Charming.
He looks like Carrie Elway a little bit. So that's why he does. He has a short blonde hair. Yeah. I remember what I was going to tell you. I remember what I was going to tell you when we were talking about like the magic and Loki.
Yes.
And how he learned the stuff from his mom. Remember when he first finds out that he's really like of the frost people or whatever? And do you notice that he literally all of a sudden can harness that power and start using the frost stuff and freezing people? That was like, where'd that come from? That came out of left field. So yeah, I've remembered that I wanted to say that. Okay. So anyways, Thor and Jake.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's pretty much all I wanted to say. And then the Prince Charming thing, I just forgot about that until you mentioned it.
Look like he could be a Prince Charming.
Okay, so question about is there a part of this movie, which for me, I didn't have a part that made me cry because I knew obviously Loki wasn't dead and I knew, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there were certain scenes, and I was telling April this last night too, was like, there was the scene in Dark World where Loki was like dying. And I would have bawled if I would have seen that and like not known that Loki was still alive. So I feel like that scenes like that like would have got me if I would have watched it the first time. But was there a scene that like really made you cry when you watched it the first time, or is there a scene now that even when you rewatch it that you still are like kind of
I cry at anything?
You don't? It's just me.
My emotions are just way out there. So I'm very emotional, and I can literally see a movie over and over and still cry at the sad parts, even though I know, whatever.
I thought you said you didn't cry at anything. So I was about to say, I'm the opposite. No. I cry at every.
No, I'm saying I cry at commercials. I can cry at anything. Okay. So I can, like I said, I can have seen a movie 10 or 15 times and know that what the outcome is and still cry during the sad part of the movie. So yes, I literally was like
hang on. Let's see. Allie's been having some internet troubles.
Okay. So
back. Okay.
You're frozen now.
Oh,
okay. There we go. So I told you I was working on making Disney ears today, and I had played both the Thor movies, the 1 and 2. So I had one going. So I felt bad because I couldn't sit there and fully watch it, but I was like looking like this every couple seconds, and I'm working on my ears. But literally the scene where this is where he grows as a character.
Oh yeah.
Where he becomes worthy. Like, he sacrifices his life and tells his brother, Loki, take me instead of everyone. Don't make these people pay for that. And he gets killed. And I didn't like start bawling because I was kind of working at the same time, but I was literally getting choked up, and I'm like, see, he's worthy now. He's worthy. He sacrificed himself. And then poof, here comes the hammer. So yeah.
Yeah. That was a good scene. I really think the only scene that would have made me cry was maybe Loki's death. I'm trying to think if there was another one, but I didn't cry. Well, there might have been another, because I feel like there was another one where I was like saying to myself, I was like, I would have cried on this if I wouldn't have known, you know. But
well, you know, like you hadn't seen those movies, so
no, but I knew I'd seen Avengers, the Avengers.
Oh, so you knew that Loki would still, or that they would both be in.
Well,
yeah.
I know what happens in Avengers to Loki, and I obviously had seen. I saw Endgame and like what happened. So I mean, I knew kind of the whole thing of that, and I figured like I knew that he was. I figured he was still alive. So I wasn't like that shocked. I had felt like he was still alive.
I was surprised to find out he was still alive by the end of Dark World. Like I thought he was dead in that movie.
That scene, oh my gosh, I like lost my brain. I lost my mind. I lost my mind because I didn't think he was dead, but like I swear when he's like he turns himself like after, you know, the king conversation with Thor, and then he turns back into himself, I literally was like, what happened to the king? Did he kill his dad? Like, I miss his dad, but anyways, really quickly, because we did talk about this, and this is the last thing we'll talk about before we head into the character development there, but I talked about our favorite lines from the movies, and I know you prepared some favorite lines, so I'll go ahead and let you share those, and then I'll share some of mine. You go ahead.
Okay. So the first, was this the first one? Yeah. Okay. So from the first movie, and this is early on when we first see Thor make his appearance, I just thought it was hilarious when because he's so overconfident and cocky and just full of himself and thinks he's, you know, all that, which is great in itself as well. But he basically says, at least make it a challenge for me when he's fighting these people. He's like, at least make it a challenge for me, you know, because he's like, thinks he's all that and he can fight everybody and no big deal. But he's just like, I'm all that. I'm, you know, unstoppable kind of thing. At least make it a challenge for me. I love when he says that.
I was trying to go through because I just watched it, and I was trying to go through and like find some of mine. I had several lines that I really liked. One of my favorite lines from the first one was Darcy's line. And this one was the scene that made me be like, Darcy holds up in this one. It's right when he lands and they're like checking him out and he's looking for his hammer. And she says, we can tell you're hammered.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That cracked me up. And then also him going into the pet store and saying he needs a horse. Like just going into, he's like, I need a horse.
I was like, well, do you have something that I can ride? Because we don't have any horses. Well, do you have something that I can ride then?
So that was probably like my favorite lines. I'll say my favorite scene, I think, in the whole first movie is probably when Loki finds out about who he is, like his actual, like who his father was and that emotion. Loki's emotional scenes get me when he has some of that emotion. So that's, I think, probably my favorite one. And he probably has some really good lines in that too, that I just can't remember the whole scene, but that one's really good to me.
I mean, Loki and Thor, like I said, like as much as Loki acts like he resents and hates Thor through the movies, he really does love him. They are brothers. They were brought up together, and Thor's the same way. Like he hates him and he's always betraying him, but then he does something to redeem himself. So it's, yeah.
We'll talk about the stressful nature and that Loki is to me. Go ahead. So Dark World, what is it?
So I got two sets of lines in that one, and they were close together as far as the scenes that they happened. So it was when they were all when he goes and gets Loki out of prison, and they all try to escape because the bridge is broken. So they need Loki to lead them on a different area. And Loki says, "You lied to me. I'm impressed." That's one. And then he says, wait, let me see. Who was, I can't remember who says which on this. And he goes, Thor, I think. He goes, if it were easy, everyone would do it. And maybe that was Loki. And then he goes, are you mad? And Loki goes, possibly. Or was it Thor that said that? Now I can't remember. But basically he's like, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And the other goes, are you mad? And he goes, possibly.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly that exchange. I know what you're talking about, though. That whole them flying the little ship was just. I mean,
I am hitting it harder. I mean, it was so funny.
I had 2 lines as well. The first one I'll go ahead and tell you because it's associated with that scene is something like he's like, I think you missed that column back there. He leaves like one standing. He's like, I think you missed a column back there. Because he's like hitting everything with the ship. And he's like, you missed one. So I really liked that. That was funny. And then there's another line. It's right before then, I believe, where they're like leaving together, and all of Thor's friends are going up to Loki, and they're like, if you betray him, I'll kill you. And then after the second one, Loki says, well, evidently there'll be a line to kill me if something happens to Thor.
Yes.
So
I know, and he goes, well, apparently there's going to be a line for that. There's a line of people who are going to be waiting to kill me.
Yeah, I'll kill you. He's like, well, evidently there'll be a line, so you can get it in.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
Now I know Ragnarok might not be your favorite movie, but I feel like this is probably your favorite quote. The one from Ragnarok.
Oh no, it is one of my. It's still my favorite movie, but it's my favorite out of the 3. But and see, I can't, because it's been a while since I've seen it, I can't honestly think of any other funny lines that stick in my head right now, aside from the one I'm talking about here, where they're on this planet, they've got Thor in this arena, and they're like, yeah, you're going to fight this undefeatable fighter. He's never been beaten, blah, blah, blah.
She froze again.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Yeah,
okay.
I was like, I stopped talking because I didn't want to miss it. But
yeah.
And so anyway, Hulk comes out and Thor sees him for the first time, and he goes, it's a friend from work. And I just love, and he's like pointing at him, it's a friend from work. I love that one.
I question Thor sometimes. He's like telling them. He's like telling them it's a friend. It's a friend. It's a friend from work. But no, I love like right when he walks into the arena and right when he sees it's the Hulk, he's like, yeah.
Yeah. I think another one that's pretty funny. I can't remember the exact line, but it's when Stan Lee is the barber and he's going to cut off Thor's hair. Think about it. Thor's hair is his livelihood. He's going to cut that hair off. And Stan Lee plays the barber. That was funny too.
Yeah. He was like, I'm a little out of practice. And then Thor's like, he's like, I am the god of thunder. Do not cut my hair. And then he's like, please don't cut my hair. Please.
I know, he gets scared after. No, please don't do it.
But you know what? I will say this. I thought he looked better after the haircut. I was shocked because I love the hair. I love the hair. And I was like, no, they're losing the hair. But I thought he came out into that arena. I was like, look pretty good.
Good. Yeah, he does.
My favorite line, which all of that whole entire arena scene and also the barber scene, like we were just discussing right before, it was so good. But I think one of my favorites that was not already mentioned is, so like after he's like trying to kind of like talk to Hulk and trying to like get Banner back, and then like Hulk picks him up and starts like bumping him and like shaking him everywhere. And I thought in my head, I'm like, this literally looks like what he did to Loki during Avengers. And then Loki stands up and he's like, yeah, that's how it felt. And then he looks at the Grandmaster. He's like, I'm just really into sports.
Because I think back to the very first Avengers movie, and Hulk and Thor battled it out from that very first time, like, you know, because Hulk was out of control then. He didn't know how to control himself, his emotions. And so,
well, him and Loki too, like him and Loki had, you know, that scene where he just threw Loki back and forth, and I think Loki was so good in that scene, because as soon as he says it earlier when he visits Thor in the jail cell, he's like, he doesn't know who the person is, like they're talking who the champion is, and he just heard that he's like pretty good. And so when he sees his Hulk, he's like, I've got to get off this planet.
He goes and hides. He like tries to go hide when he sees him. Remember when he first sees him come out, he like sinks down or something like that.
Yeah,
he's like, hide.
I know. But that line where he's like, I've got to get off this planet. I was like, yeah, he don't want to deal with Hulk again. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was funny.
Okay, so I'm going to just flail. We got about 15 minutes left. But I just want to flail for a second about Loki and loving Loki. And then I will let Allie, who's just more refined with all this than me and can be more articulate than me, she can kind of rein it in. But I'm just going to like flail because I was literally flailing to April and Allie both about Loki. So in the first movie, from the beginning, I really liked Loki, honestly, better than I liked Thor, because we see Thor at first, and he's like arrogant and like impulsive. And I don't know, I was like, Loki's my guy. And I just knew from like what we'd seen in Avengers that Loki was going to, obviously turn out to be kind of, bad. And so I was waiting for it. But I really, until I think he sent out that, I can't remember what it's called, the little robot thing that killed Thor that time, like at the end of one, the scene you were just talking about getting emotional about. Like,
yeah, it's a little robot. That thing's like ginormous.
Oh, okay, I say little.
Little robot. I don't know what you mean.
No, he's a big robot. Okay, he's a robot. Okay. Yeah. So up until then, I really could understand Thor or understand Loki. And I thought that whole movie was just beautiful in the sense of like him finding out about who he really was. And I mean, obviously he had let them in before, but he was saying, he says in that movie, he's like, I just wanted to ruin Thor's big day. Like he's just like wanting a little chaos because he didn't want Thor to have this big old day when like he didn't have it. And he just wanted to be, I think it's in the first Thor, he says this, it might've been Dark World, but he says this line where he's like, I never wanted to be king. I just wanted to be your equal. And I thought that was a beautiful line. And also the plot twist that about him, like letting his dad, like his actual dad kill his like Odin, Odin, the dad that he thought was his dad for the longest time. I really thought he was going to let him kill him. I was like, okay, like this makes sense. I'm going to really hate Loki. And then he like does a whole switcheroo because he wants Odin and them to accept him, and he wants to be like this, so at the end of the day, I think he wants to be like the savior, and wants to be seen as good, because that to me, and you can discuss on this, Allie, too, what you thought, but like to me, when he killed his actual dad, and he says it too in the first one, he talks about like, I think he says something like, I'm a monster, like something, he doesn't say that exactly, but it's something about like those people are monsters, and he associates those people with being monsters. And so then he feels like everyone will see him as a monster, I guess, because that's like his true nature. And so I feel like by him killing them and like getting rid of the enemy, he's bringing peace, but he's also like trying to like kill that part of himself that is like that ice. Oh, hey, April. I'm flailing about Loki. I'm so excited. But yeah, so I feel like he's like trying to kind of get rid of that part, and also like, obviously earn some brownie points with everyone by, essentially saving the day, even though he put the day in trouble by letting them in.
Right. Well, I mean, and not to mention that he's the one that started it in the first place. But you're right.
Well,
he did. Think, I mean, he put Odin in that sleep. So he's the one that let the people in to the realm. But yeah, I mean, it's like he would, if it wasn't for Thor coming back at that very moment, he would have fooled his mom into thinking that, because he's like, Mother, I'm here. I'm going to save you and save him. And so, yeah, it really did. And it really shows you like the way Loki just went through like a myriad of emotions, and he was a troubled youth, and I think he always knew he didn't fit in, but he couldn't figure out how and why, and he was always just wanting to just be jealous. He was always jealous of Thor, and it makes sense because
You're frozen again. Okay, I'll take April's comment while you're frozen. She says, I mean, how can you have Thor without Loki? Technically you can, but they're better together. Yes. And April, while Allie's still frozen, you're back, Allie. Allie.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I saw April's comment and I was trying to read it because it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she basically said, how can you have Thor without Loki. I felt and I was saying this earlier before you got on, I really oh my goodness, I just loved the brotherhood, and I love complex characters, and I love characters that have like this angst about them. Loki. Oh my gosh, Loki. And I love Thor too. I love Thor's progress as a character. Hey Mel, thank you for joining us.
Hi Mel.
I loved his progression, both of their progressions as characters, but especially, and I feel like, and I said this earlier, Dark World I think is my favorite movie. And I still have to, I think Ragnarok might hold a chance if I rewatch it. There was just so much going on. But with Dark World, I loved it because we really got to see that big emotional side of Loki with the death of his mother, and really get to see this beautiful story in the sense of him having this turmoil. And oh my gosh, that part where she's like, am I not your mother then? When he was talking about he's not really my father. And she's like, am I not your mother? And then
am I not your mother?
And it just breaks my heart because obviously she was. Obviously.
Well, and he kept trying to put up a tough exterior. You could see he was still being kind of snarky to her in that whole scene when she asked him that. And then it wasn't until later when he finds out she's been killed how it really affected him.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, and I loved everything about it, that, where she's tough on him and she doesn't coddle him, and she tells him you're in here because of what you did and you deserve to be in here. But, her bringing him books and did you not like the books I brought you? And just being a mother and trying to make him as
comfortable. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He says that.
And I was saying to you, I'll say, since April's here, and this is the scene that kills me. But that scene still, when he was in front of, in the prison cell, and he was in front of that glass with Thor, and he's all this, oh, you came to glow, and he's acting like he's fine. He's fine. That his mother just got killed. And then he drops that illusion, and he's broken about it. And the whole room is broken. And I'm broken because he's broken. And it's just a beautiful scene. Oh, and talking about lines too. We mentioned our favorite lines earlier. One of my favorite lines ever is in Dark World. And it's when they're on the little ship. And Thor's like, I wish I could trust you. And Loki says, trust my rage. Because he's angry about what they did to his mother. And I imagine too, he's angry about a lot of other things in life, but he definitely has, they're good in Dark World, I think, because, the traditional quote of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And they have this common enemy in Dark World. And that's an awesome movie to get to see them come together, and we get to see them grow, I think, a lot in that, and get to see, I don't know, I feel like Loki grows a little bit in Dark World.
Yeah, no, he definitely does. And I think what I really liked about near the end of it was, he's like, never trust me. And he's when they're trying to go after the king guy, and he has the knife and he stabs Thor, and I'm like, oh, freaking Loki. I was so mad during that whole thing. He cuts his hand off. He cuts Thor's hand off. And I'm like, what the bloody hell, right? And so then all of a sudden Thor's like, Loki now. And then you find out they're working together through this whole thing. I loved that afterwards, but I was ready to strangle Loki though.
Yes. Oh my God. No, I literally had to pause it, and I sent April the most incoherent text I think I've ever sent out. I was like, I don't know what just happened. I was like, I think Loki did something, and if this is true, and if this is not an illusion, then I'm going to be upset with Loki, and I don't know if I can love Loki again after this. And I'm like, I don't even remember Thor not having a hand, and I don't know what's going on. And I was just I was freaking out. I was like, so in shock. I was like, I don't even know. I didn't even know. And then he turns it around, and I'm like, okay. We're okay. I can breathe.
Actually, April had the line right there when she said, Loki's, you may have had mother's tricks, Loki, but I had her trust. That's what Thor, I think, said.
And that whole conversation, April, my heart. And I feel like that hurt him. It hurt him. Because that's when he said too, he's like, what did she say? Did she trust you at the end? Is trust what she had in you at the end or something like that? Like, and he's like saying, you got her killed. You were out there. You could have, because Loki was in the cell, and I don't know. It was a beautiful moment. It was a beautiful moment. I'm sorry the mother had to die, but it needed to happen for this stuff to happen. And I love that. So sorry for your death, but it needed to happen for the story. Thank you for the compliment. I have a lot of feels. I sent April a whole voice message about my feels last night. I was like, a lot of feels. Which too, I just loved all of the Thor and Loki we got. Even in Ragnarok, like moving into that, I thought we had some good moments. In Ragnarok, I think one of my favorites from Ragnarok is towards the end when Loki's like, if Thor is like, if you were here, maybe I would give you a hug, and he like throws the little thing at him and he grabs it, and he really is there. And so I loved that scene. I loved which we already talked about this, April, before you came on. I loved Loki in general against, like, during the whole scene with the Hulk, which we've already talked about. He's just hilarious. And he's so, like, especially I noticed in the first one, he's like so chill. Like the first one, he's chill about everything. So I really love that. And Allie keeps freezing, which makes me sad. But Allie, if you're back, when you get back, you can go ahead and wrap it up and kind of talk about, if you want to talk about Loki and Ragnarok, you can, or if you want to kind of transition and go ahead and talk about Thor progression, you can go ahead and do that. If you're unfrozen. Mel says, if you do another stream like this, but about Twilight, I'm in. I actually have I watched all the Twilights and I read all the books. It's been a hot minute.
I told her, I said, no.
Oh, Allie.
Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of the movies, but I've never really seen it.
I've seen all of them, and I like all of them, except for Breaking Dawn. I have some feelings, but that would be for another day. But anyways, Allie, if you're where you can, if you wanted to kind of end it talking about Thor's progression, and because I know he's your guy, which I think you might have froze again, which is okay. I know Allie said she might have to cut out if we can hear you, even if your video's not. Okay. Well, she went ahead and cut out, but that's okay. Hey, Nina. Allie just had to cut out. We were almost done, but she was having technical difficulties. I was just flailing about Loki pretty much for the past 15 minutes. This was my first time seeing the Thor series. But yeah, I'll just go ahead and kind of wrap it up since Allie had to cut out. And say, I really did love Thor's. Oh, Allie's back. Hang on. Hold. Maybe she can come back and give us her Thor progression. Oh, it is okay. We were late starting the stream because I was having car difficult. Like I had to take my car in, and they went over the time they told me to come pick up my car. So yeah. Allie in slow-mo. I'll go ahead and start talking, and then if Allie can get hers where she can get back and kind of be full swing, we can get her thoughts too. But yeah, I started out the series not really loving Thor. And I grew to love him over the first movie. The very beginning, I thought he was like super arrogant, and I like loved Loki, but then I was like, oh, Thor. But I really think he's grown a lot. And I still love though that even though he's grown and I think he makes better decisions a lot of the times than he would have maybe in the first movie. He still is kind of a little bit of like, I don't want to say an airhead, but he kind of he's funny. He has that comedic part. Like we were talking earlier about them being in the arena and him saying, like, looking at Hulk and be like, he's my friend for work. Like that's kind of thing that I think is just hilarious. But I think it adds so much lovability to Thor as a character. So I think that's great. And I really love that he doesn't always go easy on Loki and doesn't always necessarily like forgive him super easy, but I love that he's like, I want to trust you and I wish we could work together. And he's always like trying to give, I think, Loki that little opportunity to come around, and he's hoping that Loki will come around. So I'm really excited to see in the Loki series what we're going to be getting. And I know it's probably going to be in an alternate timeline from what I understand. So I'm not exactly sure how all that's going to work out in the sense of like, if Thor is going to be in it, which he probably won't. Allie, are you back? Maybe? No? Okay. Hang on. You're silent. Do you want, you know, your
It might be time it's quitting time here because my computer is not working, not wanting to.
It's okay. It's okay. I was just wrapping it up. It's fine. Do you want to say anything really quickly about Love and Thunder while you're working?
I did want to talk again. I don't even know if I'm on here.
You are. Go ahead. Okay. Well, I know Allie wants to talk about Love and Thunder.
Okay. Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't even know if it's on. You're frozen, so I don't know if you can hear me.
It's okay.
So I love Jane and Thor together. I would love them to be together. A couple. And I also think she'd be a great warrior. But I am not a fan of the fact that movie Thor.
We're trying. I think pretty much what Allie was saying was that she loves Jane and Thor together, but doesn't like the idea of Jane being the new Thor in Love and Thunder. I'm hoping that's kind of what you were saying, and I got that. I like them together too, and I'd like to see more of them. It's okay, Allie. We can go ahead. We'll have to have you. I'm going to do some more lives talking about Loki, obviously, because I'm obsessed with Loki and the new series is coming out. So I'll definitely have Allie on at some point to talk about some upcoming Thor stuff as well as Loki stuff. But yeah, thank you guys, everyone who tuned in. I love Loki so much and Thor, and this is just awesome. Like, I never in a million years thought I would love this movie series as much as I have loved it, and just watching it the past few days, I've really, really enjoyed it more than I ever thought I would enjoy it. So I'm super grateful that I decided to give it a chance, and I probably would have pushed it off even longer if the new Loki series wasn't coming out, but I'm happy I went ahead and gave it a chance. Thank you all so much for joining in the chat and also for just watching. It has been so fun. Yes, I'm excited about more Loki too. I think, isn't it coming out? Is it Wednesday? Wednesday it's coming out, the first episode. So I'm really excited to see Loki and see kind of what they're going with here. I think I cannot wait. I don't know which day I will be doing a live show about the episodes, but I'm hoping to do a live show each week for about like 30 minutes to an hour talking about each episode because I'm sure I will have a lot to talk about considering it's about Loki. I feel like he's like the new Bucky to me because I loved Bucky. I love talking about him. If you saw my Falcon and Winter Soldier, you know that. But I feel like Loki's like my new thing. I'm obsessed. I've joined April's side. Which, Allie, if you're on, or you can see it's saying your devices is not connecting. So I'm not sure. I'll try to add you. But while Allie's popping up, I'll go ahead and say what I have coming up on my channel. So I have some more bookish content coming up on my channel, which I've started releasing on Thursdays, on my Read It Thursdays, which I really enjoyed that. It's helped me get back into reading. Like I said, I'll be doing some Loki talks and reactions. I don't know how likely the reaction videos will be just because of the time, but I will definitely be doing live chats and have some of my friends. Hopefully I can get April and some people on that like really love Loki like I do. And I have some fun as well, like Disney unboxings and openings. I got some pins and some Harry Potter stuff, so stay tuned for that. I'm not sure if Allie can even hear me, but I'd love to have Allie say what she has coming up on her channel, but I don't. Can you hear me? No, I don't think so. But I do have Allie linked in the description box down below. Her YouTube name is Cinder Ali Loves Disney. So please make sure to go check out her channel and check out her new videos. Allie is so sweet and awesome and really patient with me today. I was about to have a meltdown about this live because I really was looking forward to it. And then all this stuff happened with my car. So I was really freaking out. And Allie was so patient with me. So thank you so much, Allie, for sticking with me with this. I really appreciate it. But I hope you all have a magical night and a rest of your weekend. And I will see you next week for Loki.